Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So this week for my Game of Thrones bonus video, I thought it'd be fun to talk about the Blackfyre Rebellion. There are really two Blackfyre Rebellions, so this video is mostly just going to be about the first one. I think I'll save a lot of the stuff for the second one for my Golden Company video, just because a lot of their history gets tied up in the second Blackfyre Rebellion. Real quick shout out to EJ Rivas, you're this week's giveaway winner. You basically get to pick any of Martin's books or short stories. I'll message you on your channel for details, be sure to check your inbox. Hello to any new people. If you're just finding me for the first time, I'm doing weekly bonus Game of Thrones videos until Season 5 gets here, which is a long ways away. I'm even doing a weekly book giveaway for A Song of Ice and Fire. All you have to do to participate is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. I basically pick one random person and I'll just announce who that is whenever I post my next bonus video next Sunday. So if you've never heard of the Blackfyre name, it's the surname given to bastards of the House Targaryen. It's like snow in the north. Bastard names are usually given mostly based on the region you were born in, so there really aren't any new Blackfyres being named on the show right now, just because there aren't a lot of Targaryens running around. Daenerys is a proven Targaryen. I know there are a lot of theories about other characters that might secretly be Targaryens, but if she ever had a child that was a bastard, she could name it Blackfyre, although she's not really that mean. I don't think she would ever name a child of hers a bastard. It's a historical custom that mostly takes place in Westeros, and while it seems kind of derogatory, not all great houses treat their bastards the same, which is part of the reason the first Blackfyre Rebellion got started. I think the best example of a great house treating their bastard really nicely is Orys Baratheon. It's rumored that he was the bastard son of Aegon the Conqueror's father, Aerion Targaryen, making him Aegon's half-brother. That's like a whole other story for another video, but Orys was like the Jon Snow of the Targaryen family during Aegon's time, so he ended up getting treated like a family member, just like Jon does. Another more recent example on the show was when Oberyn Martell was talking about how Dorne treats its bastards. Down there, all bastards are given the name Sand. It's not just bastards of the House of Martell. So, in Westeros, there have been all kinds of civil wars that have erupted for a lot of different reasons, mostly over succession. The Blackfyre Rebellion was just one of those. If you've ever heard about the Dance of the Dragons or read the Princess and the Queen short story, you can think of it like that. That civil war was just a little bit different in that it was a war of succession fought between Targaryens inside the line of succession. There weren't any bastards involved. The Blackfyre Rebellion at its core was Targaryen bastards versus Targaryens. Ultimately, the person to blame in all this is the one who sired all the bastards. That was Aegon IV. He was king of Westeros a little over 100 years before events on the show are taking place right now. His character shared a lot of similarities with Robert Baratheon, both in their girth in later years and their prolific bastardy. Aegon, like Robert, had a lot of bastards. Probably more. Aegon was way more debaucherous than Robert, though. He lived during a time when Targaryen power was unquestioned. There was a lot more money to blow, so he basically turned the royal court into a harem. He had at least 9 mistresses, and the joke was his modified Targaryen house motto was, "Wash her and bring her to my bed," instead of fire and blood. So you get the idea. He was like a way crazier version of Robert Baratheon, although at one time Robert was one of the greatest warriors in Westeros, and Aegon was arguably a douchebag his entire life. That's why he was dubbed Aegon the Unworthy, but on his deathbed he legitimized all of his bastards. The most notable one in this big conflict was Daemon Blackfyre. That's his oldest bastard. He knighted him, giving him the Targaryen Sword of Succession, also called Blackfyre. It was Aegon I's Valyrian blade that was passed down to each new Targaryen king whenever they took the throne. The Targaryens, being Valyrians, had many Valyrian blades. It's just that Blackfyre was the most famous because it belonged to Aegon the Conqueror. So wielding it was taken as a sign of the right to rule. So whenever Aegon IV gave it to his very young bastard son instead of his supposed Targaryen son, Daemon II, it was a huge deal. I say supposed Targaryen son because instead of being Aegon IV's son, Daemon II was supposedly the son of his brother, Aemon Targaryen, the Dragon Knight. It was like a Joffrey Lannister Baratheon situation. Everybody involved in the situation seemed like they were only having children with people who they were not married to. Crazy, I know. That's just how they did it in King's Landing back then, I guess. My theory is that Aegon knew that Daemon wasn't his true son, but did know that Daemon Blackfyre was, so just out of spite to his wife Nerys for cheating on him with his brother Aemon, he named Daemon his successor. And remember, Aegon was a party monster, so he obviously did not care for the rules of court, so he might have also just been giving everyone the middle finger on his deathbed too, by naming a bastard his successor. If something like that were going to happen with the current characters on the show, it would be a lot like Robert Baratheon naming Gendry his successor when he was dying in Season 1 instead of Joffrey. I also kind of think that Robert secretly suspected Joffrey wasn't his son. Robert couldn't have passed down a Valyrian blade to Gendry. He did have his warhammer though, which was really big. It was supposed to be so large that Ned Stark couldn't swing it, and Ned Stark wielded Ice, the two-handed greatsword. If any of you guys want to write some Tumblr fanfiction wherein Gendry takes Robert's warhammer and smashes Joffrey's head like a grape, just send me a link. After Aegon IV died, it was a long time before the actual Blackfyre Rebellion started, the actual war. His Targaryen son, Daemon II, succeeded him without any issues, and Daemon continued to live in King's Landing. But over the next 10 years, tension between those two brothers, or half-brothers, grew to the point of war. Daemon Blackfyre was the one that actually started the conflict. He had a couple really big gripes. First was the fact that his half-brother, King Daeron, was marrying his sister, Daenerys, to a Martell. She and Daemon were in love, but Daeron wanted to use her to bring the Martells into the realm. Dorne was still not part of the Seven Kingdoms at this point. Daemon's other big issue was that he started to grow more and more resentful about his bastard status, despite having been legitimized as a true heir and possessing the famous Blackfyre sword. We could probably also lay a little bit of blame on his advisors, but really this is about a war started over a woman, a lot like Robert's rebellion. Daemon ended up rallying a lot of bastards to his banner. Most of them were fellow bastards of Aegon IV. Remember, there were a lot of them and they all had families of their own. One of the other really notable people that was part of that initial group was Brynden Rivers, the Blood Raven. He ended up turning sides by the end of the war, but he started out fighting with Daemon. In case you didn't remember, Brynden Rivers is the Three-Eyed Raven, the person that Bran met in the Season 4 finale. So the war went on for a long time, but the most famous battle was called the Battle of Redgrass Field. The actual field it took place on didn't have a name. The battle was just named Redgrass because over 10,000 men died during it, just making the field red with blood. That battle ended up being the end of the first Blackfyre Rebellion, and Daemon Blackfyre died during it and his two oldest twin sons. Before he died, Daemon had this epic battle with Gwaine Corbray. He was one of the Kingsguard who also had a Valyrian sword. They fought for over an hour. Both of them were amazing fighters, but Daemon eventually won. Remember, Daemon wielded the Valyrian sword Blackfyre, and Corbray's Valyrian sword was named Lady Forlorn. You have to remember, lots of Valyrian swords running around that time. Daemon ended up winning the fight, but his half-brother Brynden Rivers, the Blood Raven, who by that time had switched sides and was fighting for the crown, killed one of Daemon's sons, and then killed Daemon himself whenever he went to pick up his son's body. The Blood Raven was a bit of a killing machine that day. He was basically sitting on a hill with a bunch of archers just picking people off. As Daemon lay dying on the battlefield, he passed his sword Blackfyre to his other son. Then the Blood Raven killed him too, which is kind of sad. But there was a little bit of revenge had. One of Daemon's other bastard half-brothers, one of the more famous ones, Bittersteel, fought the Blood Raven in personal combat and took his eye out, then escaped to the east to form the Golden Company. If you remember, during Season 4 on the show, Sir Davos mentioned them, so they might actually be a thing that the show does in a future season. Like I said, that battle was the end of the first Blackfyre Rebellion. Bittersteel basically took the survivors to the east along with that Blackfyre sword. On his deathbed, on Bittersteel's deathbed eventually, he commanded his successors to boil his skull, dip it in gold, and carry it before them as they later tried to retake Westeros with a new army. That became the second Blackfyre Rebellion. It's basically the reason the Golden Company banner has all those skulls on it. It's the golden skulls of the former commanders. Their motto is, "Our word is as good as gold," because they've supposedly never broken a contract. But like I said, I'm going to save all that Golden Company stuff in the second Blackfyre Rebellion for another video. Be sure to subscribe to get it. Also, feel free to leave me suggestions for other bonus topics, like if you want me to do another prophecy video. That video is going to post next Sunday, but tonight there's actually some really cool Walking Dead stuff happening. We're going to get some new footage from Season 5, so I'm going to be doing a special video for it. You can actually click here to watch it. I should post it around 10 p.m. Pacific time, 10 or 11 p.m. I'm hoping. And you can click here to learn about my White Walker prophecy theories. I had a lot of fun making that video too. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tonight. High fives.